Brazil versus Croatia and what I expect from it. And I think I don't really I don't fancy this Croatian team that much. I mean, I had Japan winning, and Japan lost on penalties. I mean, it's penalties like we said is a coin flip, but I mean Croatia didn't look horrible versus Japan. I mean, Japan's a good team. I rate them highly as a good team. But are any of those teams really Brazil at this moment? I mean, does any of those teams have the firepower that Brazil have? I think that's what it's really just going to come down to. That the firepower that Brazil have is just going to be far too much for this Croatia defense. I mean, where do they start? I mean, who do you defend first? I mean, Richarlison's playing like R9 Ronaldo. You got Neymar playing like Neymar. Vinny looking like Ronaldinho. I mean, he was the first. They compared that he has I think either the same amount of knockout goals as Ronaldinho. I mean, when you're in the same stat line as Ronaldinho, you're doing something good, Vinny. You're on the right track. So I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. I think the only real real place that this Croatian team can give them a little trouble is in the midfield. They have a very this Croatian team has always had strong midfields, led by Luka Modric. But I think just from what Brazil are very good at, they're very good at. They can break you down. They can counter you very well. I mean, when you have dynamic players like Vinicius Jr. and even on their bench they have such depth in attack. You know, you can play a very good 90 minutes against this Brazil team. Hold them to maybe a nil. But you spent 90 minutes trying to defend Vinny. Now you have to defend Anthony. You have to defend Rafinha, who could start or he could come on. This is just the wave that Brazil bring to you. They bring a wave of attack, and I think it's just going to be far too much for this Croatian team. I have Brazil winning this game fairly comfortably. I think they win 2-0.
So that's all you? That's your all you got?
Yeah, I mean, as far I don't know if Croatia can really do much with this Brazilian team. I don't know if they have the firepower to really put them in a bad spot. I think they can. They're going to have their moments. They're going to have their chances, but are they going to capitalize on them? I don't really think they can or they will. So that's why I just have Brazil winning very comfortably and getting their booking their spot to the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what I expect for this game, it's very similar to what you expect. I think that this Brazilian team has shown its firepower and just how dominant they can look. Given it was South Korea, so this is a steeper test. I think that this Croatian team can cause them problems, but Croatia's strengths are their midfield and their defense. Their attack isn't as lethal as you would like. And it's going to be very tough to hold this Brazilian team to, no goals or, maybe even one goal. That's what it's going to take. This Croatian team isn't scoring 3 goals on you. It's not scoring maybe even 2 goals on you. They might be able to bag one. They maybe, and at most they can get 2, but this Croatian team doesn't have the firepower to keep up with this Brazilian team, in my opinion. And it's basically going to come down to Brazil's strengths, which is probably, I mean, their whole team is a strength, but their biggest strength is that how lethal their attack is and how good it looks. So it's going to be Brazil's attack going at Croatia's probably best part. Their defense looks so strong right now, led by Gavardio, who is he's probably going to be $100 million center back. That's how good he is. I say it every episode how good he's been playing and how he's going to get a move. I hope he goes to Chelsea. I'm praying because I
Of
think
course you do.
because they're linked, but also he's a very very good center back. So I
Didn't you
think
just get Fafana?
we did. That doesn't mean we
Well,
can't get Gavardio as well.
Jesus,
I mean,
man. I
hey,
mean,
he can
okay,
totally get the bag, but
okay,
that's besides
whatever.
the point. I think, Croatia do have a very strong midfield, and I think that they also do have a very strong defense, but I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with this Brazil team because this Brazil team has probably just as good of a midfield, on paper, and then just as good of a defense. So it's like, does Croatia do anything better than this Brazilian team? I don't think so, all things considered. And even if they do, have a slightly better midfield on paper or whatever, it's not going to be enough to overcome just how dominant this Brazil team is as a whole team. So I think it's going to be a fairly comfortable win for Brazil. I expect it to be 3-1 once again. I think I don't see them being able to contain this Brazilian attack for very long. It's like you can withstand the pressure for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but eventually it's like a dam. Eventually the floodgates are going to open. That's what's going to happen with this Brazilian team. I think that once Brazil gets that first goal, and that Croatia probably has to come out of their shell slightly more than what they would like, then the floodgates will open, and Brazil are going to comfortably win this game and move on to the semifinals. Hopefully, with the matchup against Argentina, but it could be the Netherlands as well. And that's when Brazil are going to be truly tested, in my opinion, because either one of those teams, whether it's the Netherlands or Argentina, are going to be able to put this team truly, like they're going to truly be able to test this team, more so than I think Croatia will. So I just think it's going to be a fairly comfortable win, all things considered.
Yeah, and you know, hopefully you know, basically Croatia had to go into this game. Do not let Brazil score within the first 20 minutes, because this Brazil team, they're front runners. I mean, this is probably the most front running team in the competition. As soon as you let them score, they start dancing. I mean, as soon as they Neymar scored a pen, yeah, it's like they start dancing. Neymar, damn, left the pitch after he scored. He jumped in the crowd. He was gone for like 10 minutes, man. I mean, this team, when it's feeling itself, I mean, that's when you cannot let this Brazilian team get into its rhythm,
Yeah, I
because
100% agree with that.
that's when they start, when they start being able to pull off their tiki taka type style, is when you're at their mercy. You cannot let them get into their rhythm. You have to be on them, and you can't let them score, you know, very early in this game, because you let them score early, it's going to go downhill. I mean, this team is going to start getting more confident when it goes up front, and it's just going to build. So Croatia, their only chance to win this, I mean, I'd give them about 35% chance to win this. I mean, this is the favorites we're talking about, but it's football, knockout football, anything can happen. But if if Croatia want anything good to come out of this game, they're going to have to stop Brazil from scoring early, because that's what this team is built on, momentum, and it's front running.
I think that we saw this in the group stages. You made a very good point. When Brazil don't, score early and they don't, get that quick goal, you can see, they do get slightly frustrated. They aren't when they aren't able to execute the things that they want to be able to execute, the quick plays, the skills, the flicks, things like that. They get a little bit like when they do get to the final third, they get a little bit confused. They don't know what to do, in the sense of like, okay, nothing is working right now. We're trying all these things, it's not working. We're not able to score. I think the game that we saw this the most was probably the Serbia game. They were able to contain
The
that
first one.
Brazilian. They were able to contain that Brazilian attack relatively well, and you could see it took a
It
moment of
took
brilliance.
moments of brilliance, yeah.
It took a moment of brilliance for them to finally be broken down,
Yeah.
and that's Croatia's best chance. You have to get this Brazilian team slightly frustrated. You have to do the little things. You have to foul. I mean, I've complained about it before because I don't like to see hella fouling and stuff like that. But you have to foul them consistently. You can't let this game get into rhythm. You have to. Neymar gets on the ball and he starts dribbling, you foul him. If they start passing the ball around you, playing some good football, you have to foul them. You have to get them out of rhythm. Keep it a very choppy game. And if you play a very physical, choppy game, that's when Brazil might be able to get slightly exposed, and that's when you might be able to feel the tide switching. And all it takes is one goal. All it takes is one counterattack or one moment of brilliance from Luka Modric, Kovacic, Brozovic, this midfield, giving a good pass and things like that. And this game turns on its head. And then it turns into Brazil very frustrated, getting what is it called? Getting desperate.
Hmm.
And if that is the case, and Croatia can get under their skin and make Brazil desperate and get it to the point where, it's like, they're begging to the ref and things like that. When a good team is a little bit shell shocked and they get desperate, you can see it. And
Yeah, just how
that's
they react to the ref and everything.
and that's Croatia's best chance at getting something out of this game. And I think Croatia knows that. I think that they're a well coached team. I think that they do those little things well. So I think that's why I have to give them a good chance, not a good chance, but a chance, similar to you. I would give them a 35 to 40 is pushing it, but in that range of chance of winning this game, because Croatia, they have done it in this competition. They've beaten very good teams. They shown their pedigree, especially in the last World Cup. They have world class players, but this Brazil team is probably just a notch above. But it is knockout football. Anything can happen, especially when you have two great teams going at it like this. all it takes is one goal. All it takes is one moment of brilliance. Either way, and this game turns on its head and it turns into, something we didn't expect. So you can't fully count Croatia out, but if I'm a betting man, I'm putting the house on Brazil.
Yeah, and I did like that you mentioned that you touched upon it. I think that will be eventually be the downfall of Brazil. That I have them. We both have them playing Argentina in the next game. I think Argentina are very good at making games ugly, and they're good at winning those ugly games. I don't really see Brazil running into maybe in England or maybe an Argentina or a France. Those other teams, I think they can win ugly games. They can make things difficult. They can have a bunch of fouls, have a bunch of inconsistency. Have never a very flowing game. Because if a game is flowing, it's in Brazil's favor. I mean, if things are just naturally progressing, not very many like stoppages in the rhythm, you're at Brazil's mercy. So yeah, any team that wants to get at this Brazil team, you have to make it ugly. You have to, get a couple fouls. Maybe your team has to rack up a couple yellows. Like this is just what's going to have to be. That you can't let this team be free flowing.
I 100% agree.